with horror at having had such a wicked, ungrateful thought about her darling Mamma. Mamma, who had been left frightened and alone, probably far more than Jenny now was, in a strange foreign country with almost no means, when her young husband had been suddenly and cruelly carried off by a terrible illness soon after they had arrived there. Mercifully, being a dancer, Mamma had found employment at a small dance studio, where foreigners came for dance lessons and to bring their children for dance lessons as well. In the end, she had married the owner, Felix Beacons. Felix Beacons had loved Jenny, always wearing a smile on his face as he watched her flitting about the studio, a great pink bow perched like a trembling butterfly on her golden ringlets, and on her cherubic, pink-cheeked face, a winning smile that enchanted all who saw her. And, of course, he had adored Jenny's Mamma, with her own golden curls, rosy cheeks, and radiant smile, and her twinkling light as a fairy's toes that barely touched the dance studio floor as she whirled across it in her grand, bright, frilly dresses. He complained constantly that he wished he could do more for his little charmers, and that they were not so very poor. For although the handsomely dressed American, British, French, and German ladies and gentlemen who patronized the studio were wealthy, very little of that wealth found its way into dance lessons. So while they all, as was the custom of foreigners in China then, had large households of many servants, Felix Beacons could only provide for his family a small apartment run by but 2 servants, Ling and his wife, Cho Mei. But Jenny herself did not care a bit that they did not have half a dozen or more servants, for Cho Mei was her ama, the nursemaid who cared as tenderly for Jenny as did her own Mamma. Nor did it matter to her that earnings from the studio were so meager she could not attend expensive private schools, the only English-speaking schools available. For after carefree days spent at the studio, she was given reading and writing lessons every night by her Papa Felix. So her life was a full and happy one, despite Papa's complaints. Then another tragedy befell Mamma, and Jenny as well, for Felix Beacons had been struck down with a failing heart, so he too was taken from them. Mamma had struggled valiantly to keep the studio going, but at last, weakened by all she had endured, she had fallen prey to a deadly illness of the lungs. Before long, the rosy cheeks, so loved by Felix Beacons, became wan and sunken. At last it had become clear to her that she might have little time left in this world, and some provision must be made for Jenny when that time had run out. So she went to her desk to write a letter, and from the anguished look on her face, it was clearly a letter she had a great deal of difficulty in writing. At the time the letter was being written, Jenny was not told the real reason it had to be written at all. Mamma had continued to say that she was feeling better day by day, and that the letter was only because she thought it high time she wrote to Jenny's grandfather. Grandfather? What grandfather? Jenny had asked. Was this Papa's father? If so, why was he never mentioned? Why had she never even heard of him before? But it turned out that it was not Papa Felix's father who was to receive the letter, but the father of her real Papa, the one who had died when she was an infant. It had been such a very long time since Mamma had spoken of him, Jenny had come to think that the Papa she had recently lost was the real one. Now, here was this real grandfather being written to because Mamma thought it was high time she did. Why? Why, after all this time, write to someone of so little importance in their lives that Jenny had never even been told about him? Then, finally, Mamma knew she could no longer put off telling Jenny the true reason for the letter, and how, when Mamma was no longer there, Jenny must travel to America to live with this real grandfather, the only person left in the world to take care of her. With the meager funds remaining to her, Mamma had, it appeared, already arranged for Jenny's passage. It seemed that, other than that he was very rich, she could tell Jenny almost nothing about this grandfather, for she had met him but once, and had seen his great house built on a cliff overlooking the ocean but once. Why only once, Jenny had wanted to know. But Mamma could not, or perhaps would not, give her any explanation for this. So this grandfather was as much a stranger as all the others Jenny had encountered.